Right now at 6, global computer meltdown.
We are working with each and every customer to make sure that we can bring them back online.
How travelers, techs, and TV stations are working to recover from what could be the biggest software oops in history.
No rental cars, no hotels available.
I have cried my eyes out since morning.
Plus, wildfire season off to an aggressive start, where leaders are now surging resources and the plan for the months ahead. And later,
as a club, we are so happy. We look forward to the future together.
Interim coach no more. Why the Thorns are betting big on Rob Gale to return the club to the top.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on this Friday. I'm David Molko. We begin at 6 with what was supposed to be a routine software update that quickly mushroomed into what experts are calling the largest tech outage in global history. It all centers around a company meant to protect computer systems, a cybersecurity firm called CrowdStrike. A faulty update causing a cascading series of crashes around the world, including here at KGW around 9:15 last night. Computers stuck in a doom loop of rebooting, showing the so-called blue screen of death. Airline travelers, hospital patients, bank customers, even 911 callers in some spots nearly 24 hours later. And even though a fix is in the works, still all dealing with the fallout. We have live team coverage with Evan Watson at PDX and Ashley Grams in Southwest Portland, where the mayor declared a state of emergency. Ashley?
David, the city of Portland slowly getting back online today. This morning, Mayor Ted Wheeler saying about half of the city's systems were disrupted by the software update. Overnight, first responders, airlines, hospitals, and banks across the world were hit with an IT outage.
So we weren't able to clock in.
I was trying to make some deposits and wasn't able to do so because I guess of the global outage.
Many computer screens stuck displaying this error message, impacting day-to-day operations.
My primary concern was obviously first response, police and fire. Those were my priority areas in the early hours of the morning.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler issuing an emergency declaration as 911 dispatchers and first responders resorted to taking calls manually.
We have forms and paper that they just track calls on. Similarly, within police and fire bureaus, they do the same thing.
We have 487 systems, 266 of which were impacted. We now have about half of those systems corrected.
The system outage was caused by a cybersecurity company called CrowdStrike.
The system was sent an update, and that update had a software bug in it and caused an issue with the Microsoft operating system.
CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz speaking on the Today Show Friday morning, saying they're resolving the issue.
And it's why we're here to make sure that every customer is fully recovered, and we're not going to relent until we get every customer back to where they were.
The city of Portland slowly coming back online, assuring everyone that 911 calls, emergency response, and other public services are not affected.
We've been working with banks, hospitals. There have been some impacts to some of our hospital systems, but no life safety or patient care functions were interrupted.
Providence, Peace Health, and Legacy Hospitals say they're also dealing with the outage and are focused on prioritizing patient care. Now, Washington County also told me that they dealt with disruptions to internal communications and that deputies just resorted to more traditional methods like listening to a radio. Now, this all happened overnight, so these emergency services are no longer disrupted. That's the good news, David.
Yeah, going old school and back to basics. Thank you, Ashley. Let's go to Evan Watson now live at PDX. Evan, we saw some airlines ground flights globally until they could find a fix. It took a lot of time. How are things looking right now?
David, walking through the terminal, you can see people sitting along the edges of the hallways, laying down at times. There are still many frustrated passengers here, and rebooking, as we know, is always hectic. But at this time, air travel is just about back to normal at PDX. Of course, major flight delays and cancellations have ripple effects throughout the day. We spoke with travelers who are going to miss weddings, going to miss birthdays, going to miss the birth of new family members. Some were planning to take red-eye flights out last night, only then to stay at the airport overnight, hoping for that next available plane. American, Delta, United, Frontier, those were some of the airlines most affected by the CrowdStrike outage. Even some of the PDX websites and some of the gate computers didn't work this morning. One flyer, Will Drew, said it was frustrating, but everyone seemed to acknowledge it was an issue the airlines and airport staffers couldn't do anything about.
I don't get to see my sister and her baby girl, my new niece, so I'm bummed about that, but we're flexible, so it's not a big deal for me. But yeah, definitely a lot of people out there intending to go to Chicago on a red-eye flight.
Drews told us that he felt that most people were understanding in this case, and now when you talk to people inside, most are just waiting for that rebooked flight or trying to find that next option for them. The latest numbers from PDX would be, in terms of from last night until right now, there were close to 100 flights in to PDX that were canceled or delayed, and about 60 flights leaving PDX that were canceled and delayed. Lots of people affected here at the airport, David.
Yeah, the timing really couldn't be worse in peak summer travel. Glad it's getting better. Thank you, Evan. By the way, if you're wondering what CrowdStrike does, well, it's an American cybersecurity firm that was founded in 2011 based in Austin, Texas, and one of the largest tech protection providers. So CrowdStrike says its customers include more than half of Fortune 500 companies, from financial services to major airlines to healthcare providers and so on. So this explains the scope of the meltdown here. The company has been involved in investigations into major cyber attacks, and critically, as we've mentioned, its software is integrated directly into Windows operating systems, meaning it's in a huge variety of devices spread around the world. We'll stay with KGW for continuing coverage of the fallout as businesses work to get back up and running. Look for the latest here on air, KGW.com, KGW Plus, and on our social media pages. In your headlines this evening, Portland police now say that multiple people have been hurt in a shooting this afternoon at North Portland's Dawson Park. A witness who spoke to our team on scene said there appeared to be multiple shooters. They said one victim appeared to be a bystander who was taken to the hospital. We are working to confirm details with police. We'll update you as we learn more. Meanwhile, a man is in custody after a midday standoff in Northeast Portland's Cully neighborhood. Police say they responded to a call of shots fired just after 9:30 this morning on Northeast Cully between Mason and Skidmore. Authorities say the suspect barricaded himself inside an apartment and then continued shooting. They urged neighbors to shelter in place while tactical teams arrived. And then around 12:30, there was more gunfire, police say, and then a fire that started in the apartment where the suspect was barricaded. Officers deployed gas. They were able to arrest the man. In the last few minutes, we have learned that officers seized 2 rifles, 3 handguns, and an airsoft rifle. Police identifying the suspect as 29-year-old David Peer III of Portland. It does not appear anyone was injured. Well, a suspect is in custody and facing murder charges this evening in the death of a popular DJ whose body was found along I-5. 42-year-old Oscar Chides, who went by DJ Ozrock, was found dead along the interstate south of Wilsonville on May 29th. Investigators initially thought he may have been killed in a hit and run, but determined he was run over intentionally, they say. The Oregonian reporting that the person who was arrested is a minor from Salem. So far, we have not been able to confirm their name or age. And fire crews in Northwest Portland rescued a person they say was stuck in some sort of pipe in the ground. Portland Fire is sharing these photos. Around 6 a.m., crews say they responded to reports of someone calling for help. From that, a narrow hole in what appeared to be the courtyard of an apartment building. Officials say they were able to help get the person out. It's not clear if they were injured or how they got there in the first place. Matt?
All right, David, thank you very much. We're calling tomorrow Weather Impact Alert Day because it's going to heat up yet again. But for the last time for a while, we are under a heat advisory from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday here in the Western Valleys and also on the east side. Also excessive heat warnings over there, meaning the heat will be more severe. But concurrent with our heat advisories of fire weather watch, because we've got the potential for some thunderstorms late Saturday night and into Sunday morning. It's not a big potential. It's greater actually over at the Oregon coast, but there is a chance is what I'm saying there. And much of the Northwest covered with fire weather watches and warnings and heat advisories and heat warnings too. So it will be a very hot Saturday. It'll stay hot on the east side of the Cascades longer than it will here on the west side. So again, a weather impact alert day, mainly because it'll be uncomfortably hot for many, many people. Of course, the afternoon will be the hottest part of the day as temperatures climb to the mid-90s, so try to stay cool and chill out. By noontime tomorrow in the mid-80s. We'll top out in the mid-90s, but Sunday will be a lot cooler, and unlike our other cooling trends recently, this one's going to stick around for quite a while as we stick with some cooler weather. Coming up, we'll talk about the fire weather situation and the smoke that's on our way this weekend and what that may mean for our air quality. David?
Hey, thank you, Matt. And by the way, we're continuing to track a growing number of wildfires across Oregon. People in 3 communities in eastern Oregon are now on high alert. And let's run you through it. In Wheeler County, the Lone Rock Fire is pushed to within 5 miles of the town of Spray. They were under a level 2 BSET advisory. It's now been upgraded to level 3 Go Now. The fire has burned more than 83,000 acres and is just 10% contained. In Umatilla County, the town of Ukiah is under a level 2 advisory due to 2 nearby fires, the Snake and North Fork Owens fires. And in Grant County, people in the town of Seneca remain under a level 2 Get Set advisory as the 110,000 acre Falls fire has spread from Harney County and is now just 10 miles away. That blaze has destroyed at least 10 homes so far. Let's bring in John Adams in the newsroom. John, you heard from Oregon's governor today. How concerned is she considering it's only mid-July?
Well, David, in today's briefing, the governor and other officials seem very concerned with a strong start to the wildfire season. The state has already seen 2 mega fires, which are wildfires of over 100,000 acres. Leaders say we have conditions across the state more typically seen in mid to late August instead of mid-July. And a round of lightning strikes in the past week in tandem with these hot and dry conditions have led to an outbreak of over 100 new fires. Some of the most challenging fires for crews right now are the Lone Rock Fire and the Falls Fire. The Falls Fire is a mega fire, along with the Cal Valley Fire in Malheur County. Crews have been able to mostly contain the Cal Valley Fire. Resources have come in from states around the country to help contain the fires we have seen, like the Cal Valley and the Large Creek Fire in Wasco County. But with over 88 areas under evacuation orders so far, the governor is urging Oregonians to be ready if they are in an area susceptible to wildfires.
I cannot emphasize enough, this is a dynamic, fast-moving situation for our state, and we will continue to use every resource, every personnel that we can get our hands on to fight these fires.
The Oregon Department of Forestry also warning that the fires the state is dealing with now may be just beginning, as more possible lightning strikes over this coming weekend could lead to more fires starting, which would continue to stretch resources thin across Oregon. Forestry said it's key to get these large fires on the map contained so resources can be diverted to other parts of the state. David?
Yeah, we heard Matt talking about those watches and warnings this weekend. Thank you, John. Straight ahead at 6, Portland's biggest pride celebration of the year is nearly here. We are live along the waterfront with a big preview. And coming up at 6:30, the story team dives into a new report from Portland State looking at the impact measure 110 had on law enforcement. Now, some have often said 110 was all carrot, no stick, and that proactive policing took a big hit because of it. But the report suggests something else might be responsible. It's ahead at 6:30 on The Story. That's only here on KGW.